Advice for somebody about to start a neuroscience degree, followed by a doctor of medicine if I can pull it off. Australian, so I'm not sure how much of your experience will carry over, but anything helps. Oh, I see. So you're thinking like a neuroscience bachelor degree. Um, yeah, because in the United States, you can actually do research as an MD. You don't really need a PhD, but um, for me, it was more of an excuse to get over Silicon Valley and do something because I didn't know what to do. Um, so I just went into another education program and, you know, got to learn a bunch of stuff I never learned. So, but neuroscience, I know in the United States that's considered a pretty tough degree. Um, I don't remember like the rank ordering. They're very rank ordering elitist over here. I assume it's probably similar over there. I don't know. Where like psychology is considered easier than neuroscience, and there's ones even so like the degree program I did was biochemistry, and people would just the attrition would drop to like molecular cellular biology, and then if people fail at that, they went to biology. There's this, and then eventually like zoology or something. I don't remember exactly, but um, yeah, I knew a lot of people worked in the lab I worked at and grad school were neuroscience backgrounded people who were trying to get into med school. Um, I think that's really cool. I think we're going to have more and more of those people. I think it makes sense out of all the organs. It's the complicated one. Um, I would the advice I'd give you on medical school. So this is the big problem I had with medical school. I got into it, but it was not a good time for me. And the problem was I hadn't taken any prep classes, so it was pretty brutal. Uh, in your first year, I biochem down because that was my degree, but everything else I basically had never been exposed to. I never taken a gross anatomy class, never taken a histology class. The neuroscience class was basically the anatomy of the brain. So any of these things you could knock out, because I was surrounded by people that had been prepping for med school for years, and I didn't understand that that's what people did. Um, and I don't know, it's I think it makes it easier if you just I guess look at like literally. So the second year it was pharmacology, immunology. I never taken microbiology, immunology. I never taken anything. It was the first time I ever heard like Staph aureus, Staphylococcus, and all these people around me. They were just almost refreshing material, and they were adding like little bits that they didn't know, and I was having my mind blown on like I started med. I wasn't even like I thought I was doing well because I knew the heart had like four chambers, and then I remember stand across from a girl who had taken comparative biology for 5 years, and we were dissecting the cadaver. This is like the first class you do. Ava says, "Will you take questions over Twitch?" Yeah, man, fire away. That's totally what I'm doing. I've devolved into just chatting with Twitch chat because I don't know. It seems easier. Um, I'll take another crack at Reddit questions tomorrow. Maybe even later tonight if I have the energy. But um, this has been super fun. Um, oh, my phone is buzzing. Okay. Uh, yeah, man. So yeah, just whatever, fire away. But I was rambling about med school, and my biggest advice to you, especially if you're just starting your pre-medicine degree. I'm confused. If you're Australian, I thought all schools, I thought basically everywhere except the United States, you did something like an MBBS, which was a 6-year program straight out of high school. Am I am I incorrect about that? Is it different in Australia? Do you guys do undergrad there and then in med school, or are you doing like a non-traditional route? Um, anyway, um, regardless, I don't know what's going on, but we used to have a lot of transfer students from like Europe and the Middle East and a few from Japan at my school, which was cool. but I learned that virtually nobody does medical school like the United States. Oh, sweet. So it's actually one of the schools, one of the places that's like the United States. Cool. I used to think our way was stupid because I was all about efficiency, as you probably could tell from my background, and blowing through things as fast as possible. And there's so much time wasted. And I don't know. It's a debate. I mean, there's a more well-roundedness to, you know, having a college experience, figuring out yourself, taking in classes like whatever you want. Because once you get in med school, you don't have any choice in your classes. They give you classes because there's so much material to learn before you take your first set of boards. And so the big two advices I'd give you, which are contradictory with each other, is one, do the things you want to do in undergrad, because that can really almost be an asset to you in med school. Like there's people in my class that were so better balanced than me. Like we had such a overly competitive medical school class. There was people that ran half marathons every weekend. They kayaked. They were so physically active. We had like 3 former Olympians in our med school class. It was sickening. But they but anyway, whatever, kind of whatever habits you establish will be a good base because they'll just load it up in med school. So, whatever activities and things that you can establish that are healthy, I think is one. And I think the best thing to do is to explore what you enjoy and like, so, I think, that's the last time you're gonna be able to take a dance class unless you go back to school after med school or whatever you're interested in. And then my second piece of advice is, as much as possible, if you can get any exposure or preparation in med school, that would probably help. Because, like I said, I was standing my first semester across from a girl, because they put you on teams on gross anatomy, and she'd taken comparative anatomy, and she knew what all the blood vessels were names, and I was like, "What? They have names?" Like I didn't know. I didn't even really. I didn't have any understanding of the human body at all, and she was like, "Oh yeah, in this animal, it's called this, and it splits off this way," and I was just like, "Oh my god." So, I was constantly just drowning in med school just to perform mediocrely in the first 2 years, which is really emotionally taxing after a while. Anyway, that's my advice. So I guess you can look up their curriculum. I don't know why I guess getting into med school is my goal, and I didn't really think about it much, but I didn't even know how medical school was structured when I got there. But yeah, I would, if you can get exposure to any of that stuff, it's going to help. Because the best way to learn, this is what they should be doing. They should be exposing you to this stuff like really early on, and I think this is what happens with like kids of doctors. You get exposed to this stuff at a really superficial level in like high school, even middle school. The best way is to cover these things in increasingly sophisticated layers, not learn everything all at once in some hellish, I guess a little under 2-year block, like whatever it is, 20 months or something before you take your boards. Also, the first year was there's such amount of time wasted compared to your second year. Your second year is literally 90% of the boards, and the first year is like 10%. So I don't know why they did that either. It was just, I don't know. Second year is a bunch of pathophysiology, by the way, if you don't know. So anyway,